Welcome back, everyone, to the smartest year ever, our quest to become the world's greatest conversationalist. My name is Gordy, and I was just wondering, who came up with speed limits? What was the first speed limit, and who was the first unlucky soul to get caught going too fast? You're gonna like this one. Like and subscribe if you haven't, so you can keep up every single day. I do this every single day. If you've ever driven through a 15-mile-per-hour zone and wondered, is this really necessary? What's the difference between 15 and 20? Just wait until you hear about the original laws I have for you today. The very first known speed limit comes from the United Kingdom way back in 1861. The UK's Locomotive Acts set the earliest limits for mechanically powered vehicles, specifically steam-powered road locomotives, also called road trains or traction engines. The word tractor comes directly from traction engine, an early steam-powered vehicle whose name and function was rooted in the Latin word tractus, meaning to pull. These vehicles were slow, loud, and terrifying to horses, which is exactly why the Locomotive Act of 1861 capped their speed at 10 miles per hour on open roads and 5 miles per hour in cities and towns. But things got even stricter with the Locomotive Act of 1865, often nicknamed the Red Flag Act. Why? Well, because the 1865 law required that any self-propelled vehicle be preceded by a man on foot waving a red flag or carrying a lantern. Literally just like walking ahead of the vehicle to warn pedestrians and horse-drawn carriages that it was coming. Right? It also dropped the speed limits to 4 miles per hour in the country and just 2 miles per hour in towns. A slow walk, basically. Not even fast enough to blow the top hat off my head or make a few bugs go splat on my monocle. So if you're like me, you're wondering, what was even the point of having a steam-powered vehicle if someone had to walk in front of it? Was there any real utility, or was it just a sabotage move? Like, other than moving tractors around between farms, what was the point? Why would you want one of those? Well, in practice, the red flag laws made self-propelled road vehicles almost useless. Many historians now view these laws as protectionist measures designed to preserve the dominant railway and horse-drawn carriage industries. So they basically just made road locomotion legally and logistically ridiculous. That sucks. But that also means that early speed limits weren't about reckless joyrides as much as they were about managing fear. People were terrified of these newfangled machines. And aside from industrial protectionist measures, there were concerns about road damage, noise, steam explosions, and most of all, scaring horses into bolting. And before radar guns, speed measurements were very subjective and slow, either timing known distances or just kind of going off what other people say. It's like, hey, that's too fast. No, it wasn't. No, it wasn't. Yes, it was. That is too fast. I don't think so. That is not. Yes, it is. Now, across the pond, the first American speed limit was introduced in Boston in 1903, and by this point, the threat had shifted. Automobiles were here, and unlike steam tractors, they were fast. Back then, we're talking 1860s, these were maxing out around 10 miles per hour. All right, but now we're getting a little better at all of this. Boston's law set the limit at 8 miles per hour in business districts and 12 miles per hour elsewhere, which might sound slow today, but was actually pretty zippy for the time. Other cities quickly followed, and I lived in Boston for 17 years, and oddly enough, 8 miles per hour through business districts feels like you're actually making pretty good progress, I'd imagine. Like, if you could average 8 miles per hour, whew, that's nice. I could be from the Back Bay to Charlestown in no time. But before there were laws, there were rule breakers. And that brings us to the world's first known speeding ticket. This is a great story. I'm excited to tell this one. It happened in 1896 in the UK. A man named Walter Arnold, who owned a car dealership, was caught blazing through the town of Paddock Wood in Kent at a blistering 8 miles per hour. That might sound ridiculous, but at the time, the speed limit was still 2 miles per hour. That's horse walking speed, like a slow horse. And by law, Arnold was supposed to have a person walking in front of his car waving that red flag to warn everyone that a terrifying horseless carriage was approaching. Instead, Arnold did the unthinkable. He gunned it. No flag waver, no chaperone, just him and his four-wheeled rebel machine zipping through the village at 8 miles per hour. That's 4 times the legal limit. I think that's like a manslaughter multiplier these days. And in 1896, it triggered something even crazier, though. A car chase. A constable on a bicycle spotted him and immediately took off in hot pursuit, but it wasn't a high-speed chase as much as it was a long-distance one. The officer pedaled for 5 miles before finally catching up and pulling Arnold over. I just imagine this like puffing constable yelling at this like smug mustachioed man in a top hat behind the wheel of what looked like an iron lung with wheels, just be like, do you know how long I've been following you? Arnold was fined 1 shilling plus court costs. Had to do a little bit of math and punching into some websites that converted that. That's about $9 today. That's soft as hell. That's an easy ticket. That's a steal, really, for the coolest man in Victorian England. Less than 8 years later, though, the red flag laws were repealed, and in the UK, they raised the limit to 20 miles per hour in 1903, more in line with modern vehicle capabilities. Speed limits have evolved ever since, shaped by everything from road quality to lobbying groups to fuel efficiency standards. Like, for instance, in the United States, the national 55 mile per hour limit in the 1970s was actually about saving gas, not about safety or horses or whatever. But it all began with slow machines, terrified horses, and one guy with a heavy foot. It was less fast and furious and more mild and courteous. So there you have it. The first speed limits weren't about saving lives. They were ostensibly about making new technology a little less terrifying for everyone else on the road, which I guess they still are today. Thank you to all my sources, which you can find in the YouTube description. Please give me a rate, like, subscribe, follow. A comment would be wonderful. Anything. Just show that you're here. Engage with me, please. Go check out the 1-minute version at Smartest Year Ever. That's on all social media platforms that you may use, so go check those out. I think you'll like that 1-minute version. And in the meantime, stay curious and stay clever on our quest to become the world's greatest conversationalist. I will see you tomorrow in the Smartest Year Ever.